Princess Charlotte cries as she honors her late great-grandmother, Queen Elizabeth. Following the service at Westminster Abbey, Charlotte couldn't hold back her tears. That's the 7-year-old crying with her mom trying to console her.
The world had grown accustomed to Princess Charlotte's remarkable poise at royal events. At just 7, she had perfected every aspect of royal protocol, from the precision of her curtsy to the delicate art of public engagement. But beneath this carefully crafted exterior lay a moment that would captivate millions and reshape perceptions of the monarchy's future. During a pivotal ceremony at Wellington Arch, an unexpected display of raw emotion from the young princess caught the world's attention. What triggered this rare glimpse behind the royal facade? The truth connects 3 generations of Windsor women through a deeply personal tradition, a carefully concealed musical connection, and Queen Elizabeth's final gift, one that would leave an indelible mark on the royal family's legacy. The hidden musical legacy. Deep within Buckingham Palace's labyrinthine corridors, past the tourist-filled staterooms and beyond the velvet ropes, sits a treasure that few have ever seen. It's not a crown or a scepter, but a magnificent Steinway piano, its burnished wood holding secrets that would change the monarchy forever. This wasn't just any royal instrument. It was the sacred space where Queen Elizabeth II spent countless evenings nurturing a bond with her great-granddaughter that transcended generations. The evening piano lessons began almost by accident. Palace insiders reveal that young Charlotte, then barely tall enough to reach the keys, had wandered into the private music room during one of her exploring adventures. She found her great-grandmother seated at the Steinway, fingers dancing across ivory keys that had entertained prime ministers and presidents. Instead of shooing the young princess away, Elizabeth did something unexpected. She patted the bench beside her and smiled. That simple gesture marked the beginning of their secret musical connection. These weren't ordinary piano lessons. Between scales and simple melodies, the Queen wove stories of her own childhood, of the weight of duty, and most importantly, of finding moments of joy within the constraints of royal life. Charlotte proved to be an eager student, not just of music, but of these precious life lessons. Palace staff would often hear muffled giggles and the occasional wrong note floating through the heavy oak door. But they knew better than to interrupt these sacred sessions. As Charlotte's 7th birthday approached, the Queen embarked on her most ambitious project yet. Despite declining health, she spent hours in her private studio, composing a melody that would capture everything she wanted to tell her great-granddaughter. The piece was deceptively simple, a lullaby that carried echoes of traditional royal anthems, but interwoven with playful notes that were purely Charlotte. It was her musical letter to the future, though none could have guessed how powerfully it would resonate. The musical box itself was a masterpiece of subtlety and symbolism, crafted from sterling silver by the Queen's trusted silversmith. Its surface was adorned with delicate horseshoes, a nod to their shared love of horses and morning rides together. But it was the hidden details that truly made it special. The interior was lined with the same blue silk that lined the Queen's coronation robe, and the spring mechanism was crafted from metal salvaged from an old palace gate, quite literally incorporating the weight of history into this deeply personal gift. When Charlotte first opened the box on her birthday morning, she didn't just receive a precious royal heirloom. She inherited a piece of her great-grandmother's heart. The melody that tinkled forth was the same one they had practiced together in those private evening sessions, but now transformed into something more intimate, more personal. Each note carried whispered memories of their time together, each turn of the mechanism echoing with unspoken words of love and guidance that would resonate far beyond the palace walls. None could have predicted how this musical connection would surface during one of the monarchy's most poignant moments, or how a simple silver box would become the key to unlocking centuries of rigid royal tradition. But as the first notes of that familiar melody would soon fill Wellington Arch, the true power of the Queen's musical legacy was about to be revealed to the world. In the weeks leading up to the Wellington Arch Memorial, Charlotte kept her silver music box close, often reaching for it during private moments when the weight of loss felt heaviest. Palace staff noticed how she would trace its delicate horseshoes with her fingertips while preparing for public appearances, drawing strength from this tangible connection to her great-grandmother. But no one, not her parents, not her protection officers, Not even Charlotte herself could have anticipated how this private comfort would collide with public duty on that fateful morning. As the young princess stepped into the shadow of the Wellington Arch, the silver box tucked carefully beneath her collar, she was about to bridge two worlds in a way that would transform the monarchy forever. What happened next would reveal just how powerful a queen's final gift of love could be, and how one small musical box would unlock centuries of rigid royal tradition in a matter of moments. The Wellington Arch revelation. The morning of the memorial service dawned with the kind of crisp clarity that photographers dream of. Tom Parker, who had captured 3 generations of royal moments through his lens, positioned himself carefully near the Wellington Arch. He'd photographed Princess Charlotte dozens of times before. Her perfect posture, practiced wave, and composed smile were legendary among royal photographers. But something felt different about this morning, though he couldn't quite put his finger on what. The first hint that something extraordinary was about to unfold came from an unlikely source. In the orchestra pit, principal musician James Harrison was preparing for his solo when he noticed his sheet music had vanished. Panic flickered across his face as he searched frantically, knowing the precise moment his piece was meant to begin was approaching. Yet as the time came, something remarkable happened. Music began to fill the air, but not from his position. The sounds emerging from the hall's speaker system were hauntingly beautiful, played with a tenderness that seemed to reach across time itself. Charlotte's reaction was instantaneous and profound. Those closest to her saw her hand fly to her collar, where the silver music box lay hidden. Her eyes widened with recognition as the first notes of her great-grandmother's lullaby floated through the air. The same melody she had practiced countless times in that hidden piano room, the same tune that played from her precious musical box. In that moment, the carefully constructed wall between private grief and public duty began to crumble. What happened next broke every rule in the Royal Protocol Handbook. Guard James Mitchell, a 20-year veteran of royal ceremonies, made an unprecedented decision when he saw the first tear roll down Charlotte's cheek. Breaking centuries of tradition, he stepped forward and offered his own handkerchief to the young princess. Rather than causing scandal, this simple act of humanity sparked a wave of empathy that rippled through the assembled crowd. Foreign dignitaries, seasoned journalists, and even other young royals found themselves caught in the emotional undertow of this unguarded moment. The tears that fell from Charlotte's eyes carried more than just grief. They carried the weight of tradition being transformed in real time. As the melody continued to play, palace insiders would later reveal the truth. Queen Elizabeth had spent her final months recording this piece herself, arranging for it to be played at precisely this moment. It was her final gift to Charlotte, a bridge between their private musical world and the public duty they both carried. The Queen had known that sometimes the greatest strength lies not in maintaining perfect composure, but in allowing genuine emotion to show the humanity behind the crown. As the last notes of the Queen's lullaby faded into silence, something had fundamentally shifted in the relationship between the monarchy and its people. Charlotte's tears hadn't diminished the dignity of the occasion. They had enhanced it, proving that even the most prepared royal hearts could be touched by the power of love and memory. What no one realized in that moment was that this was just the beginning of a transformation that would ripple through palace walls and royal protocols for generations to come. The ripple effect, when royal walls came down. News of Charlotte's emotional display spread through royal circles like wildfire, but not in the way anyone expected. In Norway, 9-year-old Princess Astrid watched the footage on repeat, clutching her own treasured keepsake from her grandmother. In Spain, young Prince Miguel's nanny found him attempting to recreate the normality nook in his own palace quarters, pushing aside centuries-old tapestries to make room for his beloved comic books. Something profound had shifted. Charlotte's tears hadn't just touched hearts, they'd given permission for a new generation of royals to embrace their humanity. Within Kensington Palace's East Wing, a quiet revolution was already taking shape. Princess Kate had transformed a forgotten storage room into what staff lovingly nicknamed the Normality Nook, a sanctuary where royal protocols bowed to childhood whimsy. Here, Charlotte's collection of ordinary toys shared space with priceless royal heirlooms, each telling its own story of bridging two worlds. A wooden dollhouse from a young well-wisher sat proudly next to Queen Mary's miniature palace, while handwritten notes from schoolmates mingled with official state correspondence. The most remarkable changes emerged in the quiet moments before public appearances. Gone were the rigid rehearsals of perfect waves and practiced smiles. Instead, Charlotte developed her own preparation ritual, spending exactly 7 minutes in her normality nook before stepping into the spotlight. Palace insiders revealed how she would touch each treasured item: a simple hair ribbon from a friend, a seashell from a family holiday, her great-grandmother's musical box, drawing strength from these tangible connections to her private world. This personal tradition became her secret superpower, helping her remain authentically herself while carrying the weight of royal duty. But perhaps the most profound impact surfaced in unexpected places. At royal schools across Europe, young princes and princesses began sharing their own stories of struggling to balance private emotions with public expectations. The Swedish royal family's chief of staff discovered Princess Estelle had been keeping a journal titled "Things I Wish People Knew," filled with touching observations about life behind palace walls. In Denmark, Prince Vincent started a tradition of writing encouraging notes to his sister Josephine before state events, each one ending with the same words: "Remember, Charlotte, it's okay to feel." A single moment of genuine emotion had sparked a movement that would reshape royal childhood for generations to come. While the world watched Charlotte's transformation unfold in the public eye, another story was taking shape behind palace walls. Prince George, watching his sister navigate this new territory between duty and emotion, was about to embark on his own journey of discovery, one that would redefine what it means to be not just a future king, but a brother. The royal sibling bond, a brother's silent revolution. Hidden in George's private study area, a leather-bound journal told a story that no one saw coming. Page after page revealed not the practiced penmanship of a future monarch, but delicate sketches that captured moments of contained emotion: a sister's trembling hand during a state dinner, a father's quick squeeze of reassurance, his own reflection practicing composed smiles in palace mirrors. The most powerful drawing showed Charlotte at the Wellington Arch Memorial, but beside her stood George's self-portrait, their tears matching in perfect symmetry. This wasn't just art, it was a prince's silent revolution. The transformation in George's behavior caught even seasoned palace staff off guard. During formal events, he developed an intricate language of subtle gestures with his sister that went far beyond royal protocol. A gentle tap on the wrist meant, "I see you struggling." A soft brush of the elbow whispered, "It's okay to feel." Their royal protection officers noted how George would instinctively position himself between Charlotte and overwhelming crowds, creating a protective space where she could momentarily catch her breath. Inside the palace's private quarters, the siblings crafted their own sanctuary away from prying eyes. Their shared breakfast room, once a stage for formal etiquette lessons, transformed into what staff affectionately called the comfort zone. Here, George and Charlotte developed morning rituals that blended their royal duties with genuine sibling connection. They'd practice their public waves while sharing secret jokes, rehearse formal greetings while making funny faces, each moment building a bridge between their public and private selves. Perhaps the most touching change emerged in George's bedtime routine. Instead of the traditional royal practice of reviewing proper protocols before sleep, he'd spend those quiet moments writing notes for Charlotte to discover the next morning. Palace housekeepers occasionally glimpsed these messages, each one written in his careful hand. "Being strong means being real," or "Tomorrow we face it together." One particularly moving note, found tucked inside Charlotte's favorite book, simply read, "Thank you for showing me it's okay to feel everything." The ripple effect of their strengthened bond reached far beyond palace walls. During formal garden parties, George broke centuries of tradition by requesting that young guests be seated with their siblings rather than according to rank. His art teacher revealed how the prince now insisted on joint painting sessions with Charlotte, their shared canvases telling stories of unity that no formal portrait could capture. In their own unique way, the Cambridge siblings were showing the world that even within the strictest traditions, the heart must be given room to speak. As George and Charlotte's story touched hearts worldwide, deeper changes were stirring within palace walls. A discovery in Queen Elizabeth's private study would spark a transformation that even the most seasoned royal observers never saw coming. One that would reshape centuries of tradition through the wisdom of a grandmother's love. The Royal Revolution, when love changed a monarchy. Deep within Buckingham Palace's East Wing, a gathering unlike any other was taking place. Royal advisors sat shoulder to shoulder with child psychologists, while senior family members leaned forward in antique chairs, all focused on a collection of handwritten notes found in Queen Elizabeth's private desk. These weren't just any papers. They were the late Queen's secret manifesto for modernizing royal childhood, inspired by watching her own great-grandchildren navigate the weight of destiny. Each page revealed her dream of a monarchy where duty and emotion could dance together, where young hearts could flourish behind ancient walls. The result was the Children's Charter, a revolutionary document that sent ripples through royal households across Europe. At its heart lay the Sacred Hour, a daily sanctuary where young royals could shed their titles like winter coats and simply be children. Palace staff watched in amazement as state rooms transformed into playgrounds, where priceless Persian rugs hosted teddy bear picnics and centuries-old portraits witnessed games of hide-and-seek. In these precious moments, protocol bowed to imagination, and laughter echoed through halls that had known only whispers. Perhaps the most radical innovation was the creation of the Emotion Embassy, dedicated spaces within each royal residence where young members of the family could freely express their feelings without fear of cameras or criticism. These rooms, designed with whispered input from Charlotte herself, featured comfort corners filled with soft cushions and family photographs, art supplies for emotional expression, and journals waiting to capture private thoughts. Behind closed doors, future monarchs could cry, laugh, or simply breathe, knowing their humanity was not just accepted, but celebrated. The Charter's influence spread like wildfire through Europe's royal courts. The Swedish palace adopted the pressure pause system, where young royals could use discreet hand signals to indicate when they needed a moment of privacy during public events. In Denmark, heritage hours replaced formal history lessons, allowing royal children to connect with their legacy through storytelling and play rather than rigid instruction. Each change carried echoes of Charlotte's tears at Wellington Arch, proof that vulnerability could be the greatest strength of all. But the most touching initiative emerged from Charlotte's own experience, the Memory Box program. Each young royal now received a special container where they could store meaningful items that connected them to their private worlds. These weren't just boxes, they were portable sanctuaries, traveling with them to public events and providing anchor points during challenging moments. Inside Charlotte's own box, alongside her great-grandmother's musical lullaby, now rested dozens of notes from her brother George, each one a reminder that behind every crown beats a human heart. The revolution didn't stop at childhood. As these young royals grew, something remarkable happened. The public's connection to the monarchy deepened. People around the world saw their own children's struggles and triumphs reflected in these young faces who were now permitted to be authentically themselves. Letters poured into the palace from parents sharing stories of how the Children's Charter had inspired changes in their own families, proving that sometimes the greatest acts of leadership come not from showing strength, but from daring to show what lies beneath it. As the Children's Charter took root within palace walls, transforming centuries of tradition through the power of a child's tears, a profound truth emerged. The greatest changes often begin in the most unexpected moments. From a hidden piano room to the grand halls of Wellington Arch, from secret sibling bonds to revolutionary royal reforms, Charlotte's journey had done more than just change protocols. It had revealed the beating heart beneath the crown, reminding us all that sometimes the most powerful legacy is the courage to simply be human. Every royal story has its defining moment, that precious point where tradition meets transformation, where duty dances with humanity. We've witnessed how a young princess's tears sparked a revolution in royal childhood, from secret piano lessons to sibling bonds, from hidden journals to groundbreaking charters. Perhaps there's a lesson here for all of us, that sometimes the most powerful changes begin with the courage to show our hearts. Which part of Charlotte's journey touched you most deeply? Was it the Queen's musical legacy, George's silent strength, or the revolutionary Children's Charter that changed everything? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Your story matters too. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more untold royal stories that go beyond the crown. We'll see you in our next chapter of Royal Revelations.